2013, I got really tired of missing out on the benefits of community because I didn't do church. And that's when I did a little Google search, and I stumbled upon Houston Oasis. And I was looking to see if anyone was possibly doing community the way that I'd rather experience community, you know, without the dogma exclusion and all the other things that we don't really like, and the reasons why we either don't participate in religion or have selected out. And I was very fortunate, especially in retrospect now, to have stumbled upon Houston Oasis and was connected to Mike House. Originally, our phone conversations revolved around him just giving me advice on starting something like this. I didn't have intentions of doing Oasis, but as we talked, our ideas, the things we wanted, the things I was dreaming up, were the things they were doing in Houston. And I took a leap and I was like, so would you ever consider like affiliating? You know, could we be an Oasis here in Kansas City as well? And long story short, you know, enthusiastically, in Houston, Oasis themselves allowed me to adopt their model, share the same values, and also kind of create this affiliation. So, and to Mike's credit, he continues to be a huge source of wisdom and support in doing all of this. And I can guarantee you that if our launch team hadn't all been supportive of doing this Oasis thing, our community would not look like this. I don't think it would have been received as well. I don't think it would be thriving. So I think that we should all be very thankful to the generosity of what you've allowed us to be able to copy and do here. But also, gosh, this is, you guys should thank Mike out some time later. Thank Mike for allowing us to do this. So today, we get to re-welcome the original Oasis visionary, Mike House.
You're too kind, Helen. Thank you so much. You would have done just fine without me. Good to be here. It's always great to be here with you guys. The friends at Houston Oasis send their love to you today. And I just don't get too excited. I just wanted to share. Actually, this is some ideas I've been working on that I shared with the Houston gang and talked with Helen and thought, it might be fun to share with you all kind of about where we're going as a movement. And would love to hear your thoughts after I talk for a few minutes. When I was in junior high, there was a guy in our town, actually father of one of my classmates, who was fixated on the gold standard. You remember the gold standard? This is during the Nixon administration, the United States went off the gold standard. And this upset a lot of people. Because apparently having your currency based on gold was the way God intended things to be. And this guy was one of those people. He was really upset about it and took a strong stand against it, to the point where he decided to not recognize the validity of American currency, which then somehow ended up with him not paying his taxes. And then the government obviously had a different opinion about the validity of the dollar, and he went to federal prison. And then that left a lasting impact on me, because it's like, here's a guy who went to jail for a belief, for an idea in his head, for a belief that didn't mesh with the beliefs of the society he lived in. And oops, see, I know I was going to spill something. It's okay. Just a little mess. And, you know, like I said, it left a lasting impression on me, because that's all money is a belief, really. I mean, the dollar bill in and of itself has no objective value. It only has value because billions of people decide to agree together that this is going to have some value. And the same thing goes for the gold that the guy was fixated on. Gold itself has no objective value. Other than that, people agree together to say that it has value. I'm not saying the money isn't real, I'm just saying that it's only real because billions of people decide together to say that it is real. It's a social construct. It's an imagined order. Another word is an intersubjective reality. It's real, but it's also imaginary. Down in Texas a couple decades ago, we had an emu boom. Did you guys have that up there? Remember that? Yeah. Like all of a sudden, people I knew, I lived in South rural Texas at the time, and suddenly people started raising emus. I'm like, well, why are you raising emus? Because the emu eggs are so valuable. I said, well, why are the eggs so valuable? Because everybody's raising emus. That's basically how the economy works. That's it, okay? The most thought-provoking book I have read this year is a book called, and I'm sorry, Kate, it's actually nonfiction. I love novels, though. I love your talk. It was great. But this book is called Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. Anybody heard of it? There's a lot of buzz about this book. Read it. It's amazing. It's an Israeli scholar named Yuval Noah Harari, and it's really a lot of mind-blowing stuff in this book. It's generating a lot of buzz, and in the book, Sapiens, Harari makes a convincing argument that it was the rise of fictive beliefs, imagined orders, and shared myths that was a turning point in the development of modern humanity. As you know, human species have been, different types of human species have been around for some 2 million years or so, but only up until the last 10,000, for the entire time up until the last 10,000 years, humans lived in small tribal units of a few dozen people or so, hunter-gatherer type units. And so we never evolved an instinct for mass cooperation on a large scale. It just simply didn't have time to evolve in us. Shared myths and created orders became vehicles for humans to start living together and cooperating together on a mass scale in complex societies for the first time. I'm going to show how this happens a little bit, but like a shared belief in imaginary orders such as kingdoms. Kingdoms are imaginary. Money is imaginary. Religions, obviously, imaginary. But it was these shared myths that allowed people to transcend their small tribal units and start engaging on really big projects like large-scale agriculture and building pyramids and even sending people to the moon. I got that from that book, and I thought it was an incredible insight because the more you think about it, the more you come to see how imaginary orders permeate every aspect of our daily life. Fictive beliefs, imaginary orders. Take corporations, for example. Corporations do not exist objectively. Archaeologists in the future are not going to dig in the ground and find a corporation. A corporation exists because people agree together that it does exist. Remember back when Mitt Romney said, well, corporations are people too? I know, but he was kind of right, because the legal system actually treats corporations as if they were people. And where does the legal system get the ability to do this? From us, because the legal system itself is a shared reality, this common myth that we all share, that it only works because we buy into it. Here's just a few examples of the thing is, this idea, if you really start thinking about it, it's been a mess with you. And you start seeing it all over. Now, there are a couple other quick examples. A couple months ago, I was in Atlanta looking at my tourist map that they give you at the hotel, and the location of the Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta was marked on the tourist map, only it didn't say Coca-Cola Museum. There was the Coke icon, and it said the home of happiness. Okay, now objectively, we all know that Coke is fizzy sugar water. That's all it is, right? And yet somehow this fizzy sugar water has come to embody joy and peace and harmony and the American dream. Not tooth decay and diabetes and, right? They want you to forget about that part. Now, they built one of the greatest corporate empires ever created. And it's all built on a collective illusion. A polar bear, what's that about, you know? And, you know, drinking the Coke. It's a collective illusion. And I'm not criticizing Coke because they are simply playing the game that we all play. It's just the way our world works. Or I think about the myth of unique national identities. We draw these arbitrary lines on land masses and create these abstractions we call nations. And we talk about unique national identities and cultures. I was once at a Renaissance festival in Germany, and I was hungry, so I went to the food court. I asked for potato salad. The guy said, we don't have potato salad. I'm like, what? What could be more German than German potato salad? And he brusquely informed me they only served foods they ate in Germany in the 1500s. It was like apparently a historically accurate Renaissance festival, and so, and in Germany in the 1500s, pretty much bread and sausage, I found out. Well, it makes sense, because potatoes came from where? The Americas. Not young. You got to Ireland later. This is the point. This is good. You're a step ahead of me. Potatoes came from the Americas. And got into the German diet late in the game. And then, obviously, the Irish. And Americans who are okay with being less historically accurate celebrate Renaissance festivals by walking around munching on turkey legs. But turkeys are native to North America. So nobody was eating turkey legs in the Renaissance in Europe, okay? And what is authentic about Italian food? Julius Caesar never had a marinara sauce, or a Caesar salad for that matter. The tomatoes also came from the Americas and got into the Italians. They were late adopters of tomatoes. And then, of course, the Italians got their pasta from the Chinese, and the Japanese took Chinese noodles and turned them into ramen. All human cuisine is fusion cuisine. All of it. But we still cling to this myth of unique national cuisines that somehow embody unique national identities and characteristics, and it's all an illusion. It's all these people out there that are ranting, I'm going to try not to get political, about multiculturalism, doesn't seem to grasp that all human beings are by definition multicultural. All of us are. So, now here's where this gets to what we're doing at Oasis. When I left religion, I thought I was getting out of the belief business for good. I was done with it. Summer of 2012, I was having lunch with a buddy of mine, and we started batting around this idea of, you know, maybe we could form a community where we enjoyed the things we liked about religion, the social support, service projects, hearing good music, stuff like that, only without all the baggage, the dogma, the superstitions. It would be a thoroughly secular community. Shared the idea with a few friends. They liked it. They shared it with some others. We formed a lunch team. And we're trying to think about what to call it. We settled on the word Oasis because for us that word Oasis embodied a lot of what we want this community to represent. An oasis of reason in a world that's often unreasonable. An oasis of compassion in a world that's often cold and uncaring. An oasis as a place of respite and refreshment for the journey of life. It was kind of a word that worked for us, so we adopted it. And then we also came up with some core values that eventually morphed into the 5 core values we all share today. People are more important than beliefs. Reality is known through reason. And we originally wrote that as reality is known through reason, not revelation. And we later dropped the not revelation because some people said it sounded negative, which is fine. So understand that means not revelation. We're good with that, right? Okay. Meaning comes from making a difference. Human hands solve human problems, and be accepting and be accepted. They're not perfect, but they get the job done. They work. And people especially seem to resonate with that first value. Thank you, Veronica, for an awesome No one wanted to know why you put it on the back, and this is, okay, don't give me that face. Okay, this is why, because when I'm standing in line at Starbucks and there's 12 people behind me, I'm a 6'3" billboard that they can see, okay? only for that. One day after I finished reading this book, I'm sitting at our weekly gathering, which feels a lot like this, and I was looking at our banner, and I was looking at that first, people are more important than beliefs, and I've obviously proved by being religious for 4 decades I'm a slow learner, and I'm still a slow learner, and it was only then that I realized, people are more important than beliefs is itself a belief. It's a belief. Damn, I'm back in the belief business again. No escaping it. So we all know one of those fictive beliefs, one of those imagined orders that has held Western civilization together is collapsing and collapsing fast. I mean, we've seen the Pew Research studies that show the dramatic decline in religiosity, the dramatic increase in religiously non-affiliated people. Here's a tidbit from the Wall Street Journal that I found even more telling. December 2014. In the year 2014, there was less new construction of religious buildings in the United States than at any point since they started keeping records in 1967. Now that is an absolute square footage, not adjusted for the increase in the population. Construction of religious buildings, as churches, mosques, and synagogues in the United States peaked in 2002 and has been on the decline ever since. And so what I think that's telling us is the jig is up. The game is over. And the $64,000 question is, what's going to take its place? Because if Harari is right in his book about the nature of belief, religious belief might be going away, but belief itself isn't going anywhere. Because humans in large, complex societies simply cannot exist without beliefs, shared myths, and imagined orders. Nature abhors a vacuum. Something is going to step in and fill the void. The old beliefs are going away. The world is filled with bad ideas. Religion was just one of them. And just because religion is going away doesn't mean that the beliefs that fill the vacuum are going to be more rational, more compassionate, better than what came before. Like what? I mean, they're all out there. We could point to a million examples. Here's one example from my neighborhood. The belief that routine United States military exercises happening in Texas are a rehearsal for Obama imposing martial law and planning to imprison resistors in empty Walmarts in West Texas. Okay? And that meme gathered so much speed, so much momentum, so quickly. And I don't know if you're aware of it, but our governor even deployed the Texas State Guard to keep an eye on the U.S. Army. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. How am I doing on time? Oh, okay, 10. Okay. Well, let me just give you an example I read from the New Yorker this morning. There's this organization called the League of the South, and apparently they've been in decline. They're a white supremacist secessionist organization that's been on decline for decades, and now they're having a resurgence, an influx of new members, many of them young adults. And they just had a ribbon cutting on a brand new headquarters on a verdant 2-acre lot just outside Montgomery, Alabama. So back to the $64,000 question about the decline of religious beliefs and what's going to take its place, there's going to be a battle for the new beliefs that are going to determine the world that we live in. And my question for us today, the whole reason I came here, is to say this: why not us? Why not our beliefs? Why not the Oasis core values? Why not the belief in the value of reason over fantasy? Why not the belief that humans can thrive in community? And for many of us, doing life together is far better than doing it alone. Why not the belief that the well-being of concrete human beings is in fact more important than any belief or ideology? Because belief is part and parcel of the human experience. The answer isn't unbelief, it's better beliefs. It's evidence-based beliefs. And all of us who are working to build the new secular communities are in the belief business. And I think it's time we own it and we be honest about it. And what I want to say is, let's go for it in a big way. Let's play for keeps. Because the League of the South is playing for keeps. We have to play for keeps too. A more reasonable, more compassionate world is just not going to happen spontaneously. And I think the growth of the Oasis communities, the emerging Oasis communities, the Sunday Assembly communities shows that we are onto something. And I think this is go for broke. Let's not settle for building comfortable enclaves, our local tribe, but let's come together and set our sights higher. I mean, just imagine what would it be like if the phrase, people are more important than beliefs, became a household phrase in America. What if the Oasis core values weren't Oasis values, but mainstream American values? That's the America I would like to live in, right there. There are very few moments in life when you can be a part of something that really, really matters. And I think we're in this time. I mean, it's a crazy time we're living in historically, and I think this is a golden opportunity. I never thought I'd be a part of something like this. It started with a lunchtime conversation, and we're striking a chord together, all of us. And I think we're onto something big, and I think we've landed at the right time, in the right place, with the right message. And I think the opportunities are so great. I'm going to close with this. It doesn't look like it, but once upon a time I ran in a triathlon. Well, actually, only part of a triathlon, and it was by accident. I was doing a little jogging to try to stay in shape, and I was jogging out of my little neighborhood onto a main street, and unbeknownst to me, it was a weekend of a triathlon, and as I turned the corner, I ended up in the tail end of the running section of this triathlon. You know where all the stragglers are, And there were still spectators lining the street cheering on the stragglers. And so as I turned the corner, they didn't realize I wasn't part of it. And as I ran by, they're like, "You can do it! We believe in you! It's great!" And the crazy thing is, it kind of worked. I felt a little energy, I was a fake triathlon runner, but it didn't matter. It was, for a moment, I felt part of this great athletic community, and it spurred me on. And I think that's the opportunity we can have as we build Oasis communities around the country, our local communities. We can be cheerleaders for each other and cheerleaders for humanity. Thanks for letting me be here.